Okay, so Ghana currently has no occupational safety and health policy. That is such a big deal. Tomorrow, 28th of April, will be observed as World Day for Safety and Health at Workplace. It is important that we get a conversation underway. Let's see where we are so far with this. My guest is the Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety, Nanaya Wakwada. Always a pleasure talking to him, and when he's in person is all the better. So good morning to you. Thank you for your time. Yeah, so we spoke I think last week we Skyped with you here on our show on the xenophobic attacks in South Africa, where you had some very strong positions. You were given, in fact you gave
5-day ultimatum
exactly to South Africa to put things in place.
Yeah, exactly the case. We felt that, look, one life lost somewhere is life lost everywhere, and that we cannot sit unconcerned while people are brutalized in faraway South Africa, because whatever it is, someday you'll be a foreigner somewhere. And more so, we thought that South Africa, a country with an immigration rate of just 4%, should not go down this aisle. I mean, we are looking at other countries like America. We have 14%. Other countries have as high as 36% for immigration rate. So just 4% shouldn't pose any danger to the indigenes to go that way. And so we felt that no more. In 2008, over 60 people died. We will not sit for 60 more people to die this time around. And I think that coming out to call on businesses to engage with the government, coming out to call on South Africans themselves to restrain the few elements that were going on this rampage did pay off. We had the government taking some very bold steps.
Yeah, but did you see local South African businesses in Ghana take a certain action?
Yes, yes, we are reliably informed that apart from public statements that they made, they actually went behind the lines and spoke to South African government. Of course, I can share with you Anglo Gold, I can share with you the Chamber of South African Commerce in Ghana. They all made very public statements. I think Super Sports also made a statement, also embarked on a few days. Yes, multi-choice, sorry. Embarked on a few days of campaign, anti-xenophobia campaign. And I think that was appreciated.
So that's satisfactory enough
that's
for the
very
Bureau?
Satisfactory to the extent that the attacks have ceased. That's why we didn't say that we suspended our intention to go on boycott South Africa campaign. We said we have put it on hold temporarily, observing how events unfold. Moving on, we are trying to secure an appointment with the South African High Commission. We think that these xenophobic attacks have recurred over time since 2004. It's about time that we made South Africans mark a memorial for these xenophobic attacks, to continually remind them that we are brothers, we are one nation, and there's no need to kill one another. We should embrace other people. South Africans moving here, they create jobs, Ghanaians are employed. Ghanaians moving there, they create jobs, South Africans are employed. And so they must embrace and support one another.
It's amazing that you've put your Boycott South Africa campaign on hold, because in Nigeria, the government has called their High Commission in South Africa, indeed the two, including the deputy, back home, for a discussion. And you are taking this action when Nigeria is way ahead. They're taking a stronger position.
Well, I think that would not be. Nigeria is a sovereign nation, and so they have every right to. They have their own protocols that they look at. We have our own protocols as well. And so, following the kind of protocols they are following, we will not arrive at our decision. But we wanted one thing: we wanted the attacks to cease. We did not want to hear of any more deaths, and I think that to the extent that that has been done, it's time we give the South African people a chance. We give South African businesses a chance.
But there are so many people who are displaced now.
Yes, over 3,000, running into 5,000 people displaced. We are also informed that the South African government is engaging to, integrate these people back into their places where they came from, or integrate them back into the community. We think that we'll be following keenly, and that also accounts for the reason we have put our Boycott South Africa campaign on hold, in the hope that the government will do what is right, in the hope that the people especially will embrace foreigners in their land. Because come to think of it, if you take 100 South Africans today, you will find only 4 people who are foreigners. As much as if you take 100 Americans, you will find 14. And so if any people should go on a xenophobic rampage like they have done, it should be countries like America, it should be countries like Australia, it should be countries like Spain, it should be countries like Italy, which relatively they have higher immigrant rates in their countries. And so South Africans have no basis whatsoever, and all the economic reasons and the social reasons they are giving, they have no basis whatsoever to embark on such needless, barbaric rampage.
Okay, let's turn our attention to health and safety, and this cuts across. But I want to ask, from the Bureau's point of view, if you've made a certain assessment. So I'd ask what the assessment of work safety and health in Ghana would be.
It's a very difficult one. It's a very difficult one because in the absence of some key documents or policies, it's difficult to get statistics to share. I can share a few statistics, but those are very, very old statistics, for Ghana. And moving forward on the World Safety Day, I think that Ghana as a country, the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations have all seen the need to, put things in order as far as workplace safety is concerned. And so to jump the gun, we are looking at a policy that will make it possible for us to even collate data to make targeted strides or targeted actions at the workplace development. And so it's difficult, but if you really want to have an idea of some statistics in Ghana, we have it that as of today, if you employed 100 people within our urban areas, 11 are going to come back injured, and that's really, really high.
Because?
Well, because of so many factors. Poor approach to workplace safety, and because of very laxed regulatory regime. And even the rural areas is worse. If you take 100 people, you are likely to come back home with 40 people with injuries. Yes, and these are statistics that were computed as far back as 2009, 2008. So yes, as today, the statistics may change, but that is what we have now. And this was commissioned by ILO, back then. Today we have no reliable data to rely on, and chances are that the figures are worse because you see all these construction works going on within the cities, all these industries springing up, small scale industries springing up. If we have, for instance, if you take just Tema alone, an industrial hub like Tema, where the factories inspectorate department have just 1 car and about 6 staff, with over 500 companies on hand. How do they regulate these companies? And so the figures are very, very worrying. I believe that if we put in place a policy that addresses some of these issues, we will be surprised by what we see.
You know, almost all companies have safety policies within their organization. There are some institutions in Ghana that are supposed to supervise and regulate that sector as well. Do we need a national policy for this, or we just have to strengthen what we have already?
Absolutely. We need a national policy. The national policy more or less serves as a direction for all stakeholders, employers, employees, practitioners, and the regulatory authorities themselves. As it stands now, everybody is doing what they like. Everybody is drawing up their own workplace policy without recourse to any national direction. I hope you understand. As it stands now, for instance, I'll just give you an example. We have the Factories, Offices and Shops Act, Act 328, that's supposed to regulate activities within these three sectors. Okay, the service sector is not covered. We have the mining regulations that covers only the mining sector. We have the plant protection regulations covering only the agri sector, and they are all.
And that's not a good thing.
No,
I mean, are those regulations not made for the specific?
There are times, yes, they are made for specific, and if you go to the United States, they have it also. There are times when these things overlap. I'll give you a typical example. The Ghana National Fire Service will say a place that covers about 2 square meters should have an extinguisher. One portable extinguisher, maybe a 5 kg. Then Factories Inspectorate also says 2 square kilometers should have 2 extinguishers. So if you are an occupier or a business person with occupying 2 square meters, which of these regulations do you comply with? Because if you comply with fire, then you'll be violating the Factories Inspectorate Department. So we think that there is a need to bring all these bodies together under one umbrella, synchronize the rules and regulations, and then make things easier for the occupier. Aside that, when we bring all these together, we'll be able to cover other economic sectors that are not covered. For instance, the service sector alone in Ghana represents about 51%, of our domestic output, 51%, and it's not covered under any of the rules or regulations or statutory bodies that we have in place. And it's huge. The agri sector, which employs over 50%, or let me get my statistics right.
But I'm just, whilst you even work on the statistics, I'm thinking that this is a lot of work. This is so much work that needs a lot of time.
Well, the truth of the matter really is that when it comes to the policy, we started writing the policy as far back as 2000. It's 15 years ago. The policy has been written, reviewed, and reviewed. Several consultations have gone on. Currently, with the last national consultation that happened was in 2013. I think that was when the president, the sitting president now, His Excellency John Mahama, told the whole nation that he was expecting that in about 6 months or so, the policy was going to be passed, and that would be followed by a legal instrument. It was not to be. As I speak with you today, the policy has gone round again for consultation. It's okay, we can have as many consultations as we want, but the fact is that the policy must come to life, because we cannot continue to wait and be doing consultation over consultation. As far as the policy remains in a draft stage, it does not bind anybody. It does not provide direction to anybody. And so we have pushed for the policy to be passed. Indeed, about 2 weeks ago, we sent a letter to His Excellency reminding him of his promise that it's been 2 years since he told the nation at a May Day celebration that, look, we are going to have the OSH policy passed. And it made the headlines on Graphic, So we think that the presidency
have you had any response, acknowledgement of what
we
you
have
sent?
not yet.
But are you hopeful?
Well, we are very hopeful. What can we be? We can only remain hopeful, and of course that's why a body like ours was set up, to continue advocating for better standards, better policies, influencing policies, and so on and so forth. So we'll continue to push for it. As a matter of fact, we revived this whole discussion about national policy several years back, because then the 2000 policy draft was lying somewhere gathering dust, and we said no, it's about time we made attempt to get this thing back on track. And the then Deputy Minister for Employment showed a lot of commitment, and sometimes I am tempted to believe that if this man was still around, we'll probably have this policy on our hand.
Who would you be talking about?
Mr. MP Boycott Setre.
Okay.
He's now the Eastern Regional Minister. And so we will continue to push for this policy. And the fact that tomorrow is World Day for Safety and Health is also another opportunity for us to continue pushing the powers that be to make this thing a reality. We understand that the Ghana Employers Association now has custody of the document, together with the Ministry of Labour, and they are doing the consultation. We want to urge them to, as it were, think of the numerous lives that are perishing in various industries, think of the numerous lives that are perishing on our farms, think of the numerous men in the service sector that do not have any direction in terms of workplace safety and health, to make this thing a reality for all of us in this country. They should also think of even people, professionals who are applying themselves in the area of safety and health, that when this policy comes, it will regulate such persons also, so that you know that if I hire a safety manager, he is competent to be a safety manager. He's going to give me an appropriate advice based on the law.
So are we saying that this policy would override what the other individual companies and the sectors have?
What it's going to do is, we are hoping that this policy, no, actually it's not hoping, but this policy is going to bring all these splintered, scattered laws together and synchronize them, so that, you know, once the overlaps will be removed, the places that have been exempted will be included. You understand? And then it will be more, we call that synergy. And then we bring all of them under one umbrella, just like we have in the United States. We have OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. If you go to United Kingdom, they have the Health Safety Executive. If you go to Australia, they have a body, an umbrella body, to regulate occupational health and safety. So when you talk about occupational health and safety, you know where to go. So
you know, just like we, for instance, we have the Food and Drugs Authority, or we have the standards. I'm just thinking, the Ghana Standards Authority and this body that will be regulating this policy, what kind of connection would they have?
Oh, they certainly will have a connection. I don't know whether I should call that a remote connection, but whilst we were discussing the policy, we got to an issue like even a protective equipment. What sort of protective equipment do people import into the country? Are those protective equipment durable? Are they meeting any world-class standard, or people are just importing protective equipment because they need to import protective equipment? You go to the market today to go and buy a protective foot protection like a shoe. You will see one that is, say, 10 cedis, and you go and see the same thing somewhere that is 20 cedis. You understand? And they will tell you the 20 cedis is of a much quality than the 10 cedis. In some cases, it's true, because even in safety shoes, we have S1, S2, and S3. They all have varying protection levels. Okay, but what happens is that somebody can buy an S1 for an S3 environment.
But that's what happens in
precisely
in everything else.
Precisely. So what's going to happen now is that the Ghana standard, the NACOS, sorry to say NACOS, the National occupational and safety authority that will be established. You can choose to call it GACOSH, you can call it NACOSH. But this body is going to liaise with the Ghana Standards Authority to ensure that they are bringing in items that are certified, that are durable, that are giving people the protection they need. So yes, indeed, the authority will not be able to work in isolation without the Ghana Standards Authority.
So we're observing workplace health and safety tomorrow. Is there anything in particular that
yes, the Bureau of Public Safety have put together a networking luncheon tomorrow where we are bringing in a critical mass of persons within industry and the corporate world. We are having a program on road traffic, the Road Traffic Act of 2004. The theme for tomorrow is joining in building prevention in occupational safety and health. We live in a country where in a year we have in excess of 2,000 road crashes. So the Bureau of Public Safety thinks that we should focus at preventing such road crashes, and so we want to bring in a critical mass: transport managers, HR managers, safety practitioners, all across the corporate world to come and understand what is in the Road Traffic Act, what their rights are, what their responsibilities are. So at least when you are pulled over by the police officers, you know what your rights are. The moment there are some people, when they are pulled over by the police, the next thing they look for is their wallet.
Yeah.
When they are
you
pulled
want to
over,
sort them out so you can leave
sort
quickly.
them out. Tomorrow we have DSP Obeying himself, is director in charge of the motor traffic
the
transport
MTTD
department. Yes, to come and walk us through this. We have Charles from the National Road Safety Commission also coming to give us a broad overview of what the picture looks like when it comes to road incidents in Ghana and what all of us can do to prevent or maintain a good culture on our roads. I mean, if you live in a country where there's six how do I?
Is it accident you're talking about?
Yes, you are six times the chances that you get involved in a road crash today over 10 is 6 over 10.
That's very high.
Very, very high. And so we should focus some attention there and get some relief for our people and our own selves.
Yeah. So in the absence of a policy, of a national policy on safety at the workplace, can the Bureau help if I feel, something is not right in my workplace and I want to lodge a complaint? I want an outfit to look into the matter, an external outfit. What do I do?
Well, I think, yes, you can lodge a complaint with the Bureau and we'll take it up. I think some last 2 years we did give out a number that if you live in a company where you think the safety approach, the safety regime there is very bad, you can always draw us in. We wouldn't come to dare to mention your name. We know how best to go about it.
Okay.
You call 028 35 800 35. It's that simple.
Okay. Did you get calls when
yes,
you put it out
there?
there?
We do get calls. We do get calls, and you'll be surprised. There was a company in Tema. A gentleman died because they were carrying either glass or aluminium sheets, and it slid and slashed his throat. He died. And all they paid his next of kin, apparently his father, who was also a very prominent footballer in the 70s, a very old man. They gave him like 89 cedis. And so this man knew somebody and somebody knew us, and we got in. I think that eventually he got justice. So there is other issues that we've dealt with. I think we were on a radio station in Ashaiman. A young man also brought his complaint. We got justice for him. This is the reason why the Bureau of Public Safety has been set up as a non-governmental agency. We want to push for greater safety, public advocacy in safety, and to influence policy. And we think that sometimes we really must come down to it, let people know what their rights are, let corporate bodies know what violations they are also doing, because we are protected by the Constitution, Article 36(10). And I think 26(1) or so. We are protected by the supreme law of the land. And so it's important that if we find ourselves in areas where what we are due is not given us, we fight for it. And the Bureau of Public Safety will help you, get what
I'm tempted to ask what is in it for the Bureau. I mean, it's not a government agency. Okay.
Well, it's not a government agency. We are a group of people who are just passionate about public safety. And Amavi, we deal with the police. Yesterday we were on TV talking about e-waste. We are dealing with occupational safety. We are into crime and crime prevention. Everything that guarantees safety for the public, the Bureau applies itself in it. We were in Florida and Texas sometime last year to meet with the Director of Homeland Security. We discussed a few things, and just when we came in, just when we were about to deal with the police, it just happened that the police took action, and we are impressed by it, because at some point we felt that the number of cases, prominent murder cases we are having on hand unsolved is growing, and we needed the IGP to take a move, and he set up a cold case committee. We are still watching. We want this cold case committee to come up after 3, 4, 6 months to tell us, out of the 7 or so cases that we set out to work on, at least there's been a breakthrough in one. Then we know as a country we are going forward. In the absence of that, then all of us will just be living at the mercy of crime, at the mercy of poor systems, and so on and so forth. So really, the only thing in it for us is public service.
Okay, so please give the number again, so that will be the last thing that's on people's minds.
The number is 028 35 800 35. Or if you are online, you can also go to www.ghanasafety.com. And you find out our contacts there. Get in touch.
All right. Once you mention e-waste, I have a health. I have an appeal, but okay, Roland won't like it if I say it in air. But I want to say thank you to you, Nanaye Awakwada. He's the Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety. Stay on. We've got talk coming up right after this.